I'll talk towards the end about the need to enhance our efficiency, resource use efficiency in our ability to develop technology. I'll come back to that towards the end. But I want to begin by first recognizing that we must have a national strategy for defining priorities in terms of technology development. We must have a roadmap to build national capability which serves the national objectives. And as a part of that, some time back, I think 2016 January to be precise, TIFAC, Technology Information Forecasting and Assessment Council, which I chair, brought out a document called Technology Vision 2035, which was released by our Honorable Prime Minister at the Science Congress that was held in Mysore. This document, of course, looks at technologies in the civilian domain. The document actually excludes the technologies that are necessary in the military domain. And but I thought, let me mention here that a whole range of technologies that would be important for India, that would be important for meeting the needs of Indians, particularly Indians in the year 2035, have been it is some kind of a forecasting exercise, scenario building exercise, and they have been listed there. And this technology vision document is backed up by a number of sectoral reports where the technology horizon and perspectives in individual sectors like education, like transportation, like habitat, like materials, like manufacturing, like ICT, like health, like food and agriculture, and so on and so forth, have been described. And in fact, 5 of these sectoral reports have already been released in public domain, and the remaining 7 would also be progressively released over the period of coming months. All these documents are available on TIFAC website, so anyone interested in looking at the technology landscape that we should expect in Indian context, I would advise you to visit TIFAC website, and you can see these documents, or for that matter, you can download these documents for your further reference. Now, technology is never static. Even if you have developed one's technology, unless you keep updating the technology, you would soon become obsolete. And so, just these titles, and say that we are doing something in respect of a particular technology, it takes you only up to a particular point. It doesn't make you competitive in the global scene. You become competitive only if your technology is competitive, only if you have ways of maintaining that technology up to date. The technology remains continuously rejuvenated. And so that's also an important point, that we should not only develop technologies, but we must make sure that technologies that we are talking about are in fact globally competitive. And that's another aspect of research and development, in the sense you need research and development not just to develop a particular technology, but also to keep that technology at the state of art level. It's very, very important. Now, coming to the national security part, which is the main thrust of today's presentation, you of course, again, we can all visualize that technology is an important part, very important part of national security. As a matter of fact, many countries which are technologically advanced, you would find that their technologies originated from military effort. Whether it's a question of developments in steel, or it's a question of development of what one may call the moving platforms for various offensive or defensive purposes, or it's a for purpose of communication security, and also there is we know that there is an offensive part to cyber technology. Now, many of them have in fact originated out of research and development which is driven by military effort of countries. For that matter, in the United States, there is an organization called DARPA, which actually promotes the research and development at the cutting edge. In fact, there is a framework where they visualize what are likely to be the needs a few decades from now, and then they create challenges, they create demand for different researchers to respond to those demands and get technologies developed in the process. And a very successful program at that. And that got replicated in some manner in the energy business by Department of Energy in US, which you might have heard is also very famously known as EARPA. And these are kind of demand-driven programs for technology development for meeting the needs of the country. As a matter of fact, if you go maybe 20, 30 years back, you would find most of the R&D was essentially you got these technologies developed for military purposes, and then they got translated to civilian domain for civilian use. Today things are somewhat different, in the sense that I think there are also great many strides taking place in technology development in civilian domain. So many of these technologies are now finding applications in the military domain. So I think that's one thing that we need to keep in our mind, because we are much used to recognizing technology or science and technology as, as an essential thing that society must be engaging itself. And then later on, of course, whatever you do in this S&T development finds applications either in civilian domain or in military domain. And which of course is important. You have knowledge activity, connected with that you have research and development activity, and that kind of leads to technology benefits to the society. But that's the supply mode, supply driven development, which, as I said, is very important. But we should also be conscious about the fact that you want to develop a strong national capability, you must create special impetus to technologies that you need. And as I said earlier, that should mean that there must be the creation of demand, and that demand-driven development actually gives a very special impetus, and that's how the technologies, the important technologies in past got developed. Whether it was ambition to create the new fighter planes every time, or on the civilian side, whether it was an ambition to put man on the moon, or the ambition to create platforms like large ships and submarines, they all got developed in demand-driven mode. And of course, the entire S&T community rose to meet those demands. So I think this subtle distinction between the supply-driven R&D and the demand-driven R&D should be recognized. And while we have this connotation of supply-driven R&D in our S&T system, we must also create a special emphasis in terms of demand-driven research and development. Very important to make a country strong in terms of technology. Coming more specifically to the military use, why do we require technology? Or take the other extreme. See, any army has an infantry, foot soldiers who march into enemy territory, or prevent foot soldiers of enemy from marching into our territory. Now that technology has advanced so well and so far, countries talk about superior air power. Countries talk about air dominance. Or for that matter, if you talk about earlier times when technology just started entering the warfare, for example, you had artillery or cannons got in. And so this debate whether technology would replace foot soldiers at any time has been on in military circles for a long time. And while this debate has been raising on and on, but so far it has always been the case that you cannot eliminate foot soldiers. You cannot win a war unless you have your army marching into the enemy territory. Now, while this is something to be recognized, the technology is continuously moving, and so capability of this technology is also growing. Now, you can, sitting in a secure control room or a war room, monitor what's happening thousands of miles away, pick up targets which may be as small as a building or a room in a building, or for that matter, an individual car, or for that matter, an individual himself or herself, and attack without involving a human being in actual action. You can have a weapon system which is in which on the platform, weapon platform, there is no human being, and it can precisely attack the target far away. And that capability, in fact, exists today. We're also talking about computing power becoming, bigger and bigger. And I think the day is not far off when the computing power that can be made available through computers may in fact exceed the computing power of human brain. People are now talking about, for example, when we talk about big data problems, it's unthinkable that big data problems could have been solved without the use of computers. And we all know it has become an important process, an important tool, both for military as well as civilian applications. And that's an area where computers actually score over what human beings can do. We're already aware of the fact that when it comes to repetitive activities, computers do give much better performance than human beings. We are now in days of artificial intelligence. We are now in days of where computers are also trying to slowly get into this aspect of cognition. We are also likely to get into times when computers may have a mind of their own. And last couple of years, people are talking about a kind of strong connection between human brain and a computer system may be existing somewhere in the cloud, computational cloud. And so one is talking about a combination of human brain power and the computer power. And we had a seminar on the TIFAC Foundation Day a few weeks back, discussing these issues, and it has tremendous ramifications. So now coming back to the warfare, what if you have such a capability where you have autonomous platforms which already exist? We are talking about artificial intelligence, where a lot of strides have been made, and we see many more things happening. And the combination of two becoming a way of exerting force. It's a completely different dimension, so I think as our understanding of these subjects, individual subjects, artificial intelligence is one subject, virtual reality is another subject, creation of better and better platform, engineering them is a third subject. So like that, as we move deep in these individual disciplines or individual subjects, interesting possibilities are emerging in terms of creating systems for national security. And I think we should all remain conscious about this. We should all remain conscious about the fact that we should do these developments preferably little ahead of our adversaries, or for that matter, preferably little ahead of anybody else in the world, because that's what really makes you strong. And if you want to do that, then I think we need to give corresponding orientation to our technological capability, to our research capability, to our capability to translate research into technology at a very high speed, and so on and so forth. And that I think is the central message that I would like to leave.